Welcome to the program, everyone, and really pleased to have me joining today from Belgium in Europe, Mr. Michael Humblet. So, Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steven. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, look forward to getting into our discussion. So just for everyone's information, Michael is obsessed with designing, building, training, and scaling sales machines, and he's the founder of a few companies, Chaomatic, School of Sales, and the House of Spark, all focused on accelerating revenue growth. He's also got his own show, the Sales Acceleration Show. So please check that out. A lot of great content, a lot of great thought leadership. So Michael, you came to my attention through a mutual contact, and then I was looking at your video, How to Beat the Lake of Rejection, and I thought it was amazing. I thought it was really very different than what we see in sales content.
We called it the truth behind sales. And the idea was a very simple one. You get no every single day from morning till evening. And people rarely talk about that. People always talk about success, and we've done this deal and that deal, but to get there, you will have to be able to deal with no every single day. Not only do you have to deal with no from your potential prospects and customers, but also from your boss. And then you get home and then you say something to your wife, and then your kids say, no, not going to eat those vegetables, right? So you have to find a way to deal with this no. And I called it the lake of rejection, like you're swimming and this gravity thing just keeps pulling you down. And the key to success actually is only a few things. If I look at the really good salespeople and the people that excel, even sales management and vice presidents of sales, for me, it is people that accept that no is part of the deal. Second one, you got to keep swimming. Everybody will have bad days. Everybody will have good days, but you got to keep swimming one stroke at a time. And one of the things that I keep seeing in sales teams is that they come to me, for instance, let's take enterprise sales. You know, very long sales cycles, 9 to 18 months typically, because you need to have all these stakeholders. You know, you have a statistic between 8 to 15 meetings. Don't need to explain that. So your goal is not to get the deal. That's what everybody thinks wrong. Your goal is to get to the next step. If I'm in the first meeting, I know my goal is the next step. It's not the deal. It's not going to work. You cannot shortcut. So way too many sales teams, too many sales managers, they get angry. I used to have a boss, he would throw stuff at me and say, hey, get the deal, Michael. It's the end of the quarter. And I would say, it's just not going to work. Because if I will push like crazy now, then I will lose it. They will hate my guts. And of course, there is some let's say culture, living in Belgium, in Europe, there is some cultural aspects how to do that. I mean, American style is a bit more blunter. If you go in Belgium, you talk about business, you can only do it after the second lunch. You know, it's a cultural thing. But still, I think if you really want to win, your aim should always be, what is the next step? And closing, because everybody asks me, Michael, teach me how to close. Closing is a logical effect after X amount of steps, but you can't shortcut it. This shortcut will not work. And if you do it really badly, you'll actually get a lot of pushback and they will hate you. Now, you as with your head of VP of sales, you're now thinking, yeah, sure, Michael, you just gave all my sales the best excuse to say, hold on, I have to write. So how do I do forecasts? So you have all the classics, you know, the band criteria, budget, or all these techniques. I like them all. And I'm thinking, yeah, but I ask two questions. I only ask two questions. Why should your customer or prospect buy it now? What's the reason? Why now? If you can't answer that to me for whatever reason, you're in trouble, because I know it will take longer than you think.
Yeah.
And then even if they say, yeah, and then I know the forecast is bullshit. And that's something I'm very sensitive. And a lot of people, and you see it in the background here, why now? A lot of people don't know. And the major thing is, if you want to speed up the deal, if you want to speed up closing, you got to know the why now.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also there's a similar question, right? What happens if they don't buy? What are the consequences?
Yes.
I don't know if it's the same question. But it's
the technique there is, in order to speed it up, you actually have to know what if they don't buy. So basically, you need to create the problem. It's a very simple one. If cold calling, cold emailing, everything that's cold has a very low success rate, 2% in average. The reason is because you take a fire extinguisher and you're knocking on doors, hoping You knock on a door where the house is burning. That's actually cold, right? So we gotta start thinking differently. And so to go back to the first thing is I ask why now, so I can figure out how to increase the problem, how to create a problem, how to put the house on fire, actually in a subtle way. In smaller business, you can do this really wild. It's called provocative selling. In very large corporates, you got to do it a bit more subtle, right? Sure. And then the second question I ask is, what's the next step that you control? Because most forecasts, for instance, they will do this. They would say, yeah, we have this large deal, 300K, and I got to wait for a call now. No. What can you do that you control now? So why now? Next step. And if you just drive your business on the next step and the why now, you'll see that suddenly things will pick up way more speed and you'll refocus some of that forecast to the right types of business. I teach a lot of startups and scale-ups also. And I mean, a lot, I mean, thousands of them. And the problem what they have is they, for instance, mistrust. They get a lot of attention, but they mistrust. If you are a company that exists and you go to a large business, what do you have? You already have trust. So what you then need to do is you got to try and make the problem bigger so that people from an internal point of view say, I got to do something. Because I've learned that you cannot push a customer. It doesn't work. B2C sales, it works because you get emotion. The thing is with B2B, you also have a hierarchy. So for instance, I give you a complete side tip here. Something that I've learned is when I make a sales story and a sales guy goes to a prospect and he does his sales pitch, right? Slides, doesn't matter how he does it. They could get back to the office and you know what they do? They send their 60 slides to that prospect. And I'm saying, don't do that, because you always have to think like this. If I go to an executive, he or she will actually need his or her team to get a buy-in, or they will need to get to the board. So my first step is to send them on purpose 2-3 slides. That's it. I on purpose send completely different things, which is very difficult. And what I send is always the same. I will send something for the person that will approve. So if you're a CEO, I would send you probably something, depending on the amount, for your board. 1 or 2 slides, the use case, what's the revenue you could make, whatever. If I know you're more operational, I probably send something for like your team members, which explains more in technique how it works. And by doing this on purpose, you create this very interesting trigger, because you shortcut approval. You push things faster. You help them to get approval. Secondly, they find this so weird. They'll come back to you and say, hey, could you please send me that or that slide?
Right.
That's my next action, right? Yes. Oh, sure, I will send you. Maybe I have something else. And then I do a lot of this beguilting. I kind of keep him in the loop, and then out of nowhere, I'll send them a WhatsApp or a text with the sentence, I have been thinking of you. Everybody in the world opens that sentence because it's attention. It's the major attention. And then I'll give them something. I saw a competitor slide. I was in a meeting and I saw this, or I've met this guy we both know. No selling. Just here it is. That's how I start building trust, especially with large corporate deals. It's called beguilting. It's a nice word, right? You give stuff. And then the trick is, can you do that at scale? Yes, you can, but you got to go a bit careful because it needs to be personalized. Very, very personalized.
Yes.
I don't do it with small deals. It's only for large deals.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael, you covered a lot of ground there, and we're going to unpack some of this. But I just really like on that just topic you were just talking about, where, I see a lot of sales teams, they go very fast, very early in the sales process.
Yeah.
And they think they're doing a good job by being responsive to the customer. Customer wants product information. Customer wants a proposal. They want pricing. And that they expend all of their bullets at the start of the sales process.
Yeah.
And then you can get that, what you said, like that dead air. For 6 months, right?
Because there is nothing more to say.
Nothing more to do. You've lost all your leverage, right?
Yeah.
And I want to really emphasize what you said about, when the customer asks for something, you have to resist the pressure to give them everything, but give them something. Give them a bite.
Yeah.
And have them, and then my experience is the same. Then they'll be pulling on you.
Yeah.
That's really great. That's helpful. Can I have more? All right.
One of the techniques is exclusivity. which you can always use. I'll give you,
Mm.
I'm very busy, but you know what? I'll give some time to you. Something like that. That always works a lot. It's
Mm.
the exclusivity technique, right?
Yes.
That's something very powerful. The second thing that I think we should really talk about, which is not used for now, is I call it the power of choice. So I learned this with my kids. So I think a million years of genetics have transformed our kids into French fries. We call it Belgian fries. Belgian fries eating monsters that love greasy stuff like hamburgers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had the challenge giving them vegetables. So what you do, you put the vegetables on table and say, hey, you do the male thing. You got to eat it. If you don't eat, I'm going to put you in the corner. You know, you do very dominant stuff, which we tend to do with our customers. You got to, but that doesn't work. They've quickly figured it out. So I learned a different technique. I give them choice. I will tell them, you can choose chicken with carrots or chicken with broccoli. And they go like, oh. The impact of freedom in a choice is extremely important. And I think that every sales guy, when they go to a meeting, I also think that every last slide of your sales deck should always contain the following words: next steps, 1, 2. And you put your contact details there. Every mail I send, everything I do always has 2 steps. Because why would you have a slide that says, even on a stage, questions, thank you? It's complete, utter rubbish, because you have an attention peak in the beginning and at the end. In every
Absolutely.
conversation, everything you do. So you got to
Absolutely.
nail the end. And the end is choice. Give them choice. Now, let's think about those choices. Then if I talk to salespeople, they're junior, they say, yeah, Michael, I should put as a choice, make an offer. I said, no, that's a selfish choice you want. It doesn't work that way. You got to give them something. You have, it's 2 things. Either they are in need, the house is burning, you got to give them like expertise. You can talk to our main expert in, if it's technology, blockchain, whatever you're saying.
Proof of
Here
concept
is
or something.
concept. Or we can give you ideas around use cases.
Mm.
See, so I'll take something for the executive suite, use cases, or I will sometimes say, hey, I have a crazy idea for your business. I don't. I just say it like that. And while I'm saying it, I'm thinking, shit, I got to come up with something. But you know more than most of your customers, right? So
Yeah.
that's number 1. Number 2, actually, is always something that is either inspirational or educational. And the reason for that is that if I want to buy and the pressure is on, I'll go for the expert. I'll go for talk to me, feed me. If I'm not ready to buy, in a lot of cases, people can't say no. They'll be nice, right? So you got to give them the nice option, but that tells you the sales cycle is going to take longer and they are still within my cycle. So I'm going to give them something inspirational, educational. This could be like a mini book of 6-7 pages. This could be a canvas. This could be basically anything, but just something that in a later stage, they click on it. They have to fill in their email. So I know something's cooking, something's happening. And then I can put them in my funnel and say after a month, hey, have you seen this new inspirational educational? Plus, if you want to talk to an expert, see what I do? I guide you with this choice.
Yeah.
And that's my next step. What's the next step? Okay,
I think
what's
it's
the choice
great.
we have?
And again, like, I think we've all had those meetings. We've all been in those meetings where we give the presentation. We say thank you at the end.
Yeah.
Everyone feels great.
We're done.
Go out high-fiving. And again, we call back a week later and they're ghosting us or they're not replying to our email, right?
Yeah.
So we've got to have that action at the end of that presentation or that meeting. And to me, we haven't had a successful meeting unless we've agreed on a next step.
But you have to let them decide on the action. So here is the, if you really want if you really want the proper technique, and this is really difficult, the way I do it is I'll do my 15, 20 slides, no more. And then I get to the last slide. And imagine, so I'm sitting in a room, 3-4 people, they're all watching my face, they're watching this screen, this big canvas. And I come to the last slide, click. The last slide says next steps, 2 actions. My face with my, I talk to this guy with my contact details, but I do not talk about it. Now comes the trick. You don't talk about it and you say, you leave that on the screen and you start saying, hey, thank you for, you can't say thank you for your time, but you say, hey, so I had a crazy idea for your business. Why don't we, and you start talking and you start asking, do you have questions? You don't talk about the next actions because they're on this screen. People watch you in the eyes, they get nervous, they'll start. So you're basically like in a movie, you're hitting them. You know what's funny? If they want to buy or if there's something, they will suddenly say, why don't we do this or that one? See, I'm not even shortcutting it, because I've learned, as this might be a European thing, but I've learned that 70% of the people don't dare to say no in your face. And so I'm just playing the trick. Let them come. Sometimes I get nervous and I try to shortcut, and I always dive deep in the lake of rejection.
Oh, right.
See? But it's difficult. It's really difficult as a sales, because what we do wrong is we want to be loved and we want to fill up the white space.
Yes.
You can't have no sound.
Yeah.
Listen to us. It's just our nature, right?
Sure.
So you got to break that. Have the screen, and it's like, you know, when you negotiate and you say the final number, it's going to be 250K. The one then that speaks loses. So you got to shut up. Right? You got to train yourself in not speaking.
There's a time to be quiet, for sure.
True,
so Michael, just you went over what the lake of rejection's about, and accepting no, and like we do get a lot of no's. Like even I get no's. I know a lot about sales, but mostly I'm getting rejected, you know, to be honest. All right. And we should be honest about that. And how do we deal with that, or how should folks deal with it? Because a lot of salespeople now, they're not putting themselves in situations where they're going to get no. Yeah.
So a lot of salespeople are afraid. And when people talk to me about closing, and I had all the trainings, I mean, I used to buy all these trainings for my teams, and I got all the trainings. And when you have all these closing trainings, the more I looked into them, the more I started thinking, it's just a matter of daring to ask the question in such a way that you know they will answer. So again, might be stupid. I learned to ask the question by giving this choice. Do you want it? Here is an alternative. Yes. And even if they don't want it, they'll grab the alternative and they'll still stay in your loop, because you probably have the same like me. I hate losing.
Oh, a fallback.
So I need a fallback mechanism so I can go back to them at 3 months or in 6 months when the why now is suddenly there. And that's the mistake most people do. They do a cold call or they do something and they just aim the gun for closing or the next step.
Yeah.
But what if the other side says no? Then you're rejected. Don't get rejected. Give them an alternative. You know what? Here is something. I'll teach you how to do it. You don't need me, but try it yourself. It's so powerful. So it's funny, since I've been doing this in 2 years, the true rejection, the true no has been very, very rare. Very rare. And they always come back because I'm giving choice. It takes a bit of time up front, but once you get there,
it's like an elegant exit.
Yeah, but no. It's an elegant exit that doesn't exit because they stay in your sales loop and you come back to them.
It's an elegant retreat, maybe.
Imagine you do 40 cold calls. Imagine you get 40 people on the phone. And you know the statistics. 1 or 2 will say yes. Sure. But imagine the 38 others. They'll download your whatever you want to give them. Here, try it yourself. Yeah. You get their emails. You can send them something. You will actually flip your pipeline completely.
Yeah.
It's a very different technique. I had to really learn myself to break it a bit.
Yes.
And then in French, they have this nice sentence. They say you have to take 1 step back to go 5 steps to take 5 steps ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Something else you mentioned in there, Michael, is about timing. And so many companies, maybe more the American companies, the tech companies, very quarterly driven and, you know, always offering incentives to customers to close deals in the quarter. But in my experience, it rarely works, but maybe those rare examples get remembered and, you know, they think they can, but we can't, it's hard to influence customers' timing, right?
Yes. And so that's the why now becomes extremely important too. Yeah. I helped the company go to the NASDAQ and we went to we had all the quarterly, it was crazy, right? And I actually learned that I once did a calculation to see how much money did we lose by being so crazy on these quarters. And it was crazy because we just get the deal, and we would discount like ridiculous. And customers knew this. They knew this. Okay. So they were waiting. It was not me sandbagging, it was them sandbagging me, right? And they were like, yep. I have a big problem with that, but I do understand the reality of closing business, making targets, right? So you gotta find a balance there. It's a difficult one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a very difficult one.
Yeah. Like I think if your pipeline is strong enough, you're probably not going to be in that situation so often, right? If you're doing enough activity 6 months ago, 9 months ago, it's unlikely we don't have anything to close this quarter to make our plan. You know, but you're not going to make every quarter. Not every rep makes every quarter as well. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. So any suggestions for management on how to deal with that? So the managers are in the middle, right? The salespeople are saying, hey, the customers are saying this is why they can't buy now. And then the pressure's coming from the top.
So one of the things that always impresses me is I'm going to go one step back. For me, there are two problems. Closing is rarely the problem, except when you're in the quarterly and, you know, at the end of the quarter. But I think the problem is a bit different. I think the problem is either not enough deals in the pipeline. So statistically, you're not on the safe side, right? That's major issue one. Major issue two is the speed, the deal velocity of moving a deal between qualification to closing. And it always comes down to, for me, something very basic. It's this why do they need it now? And they will define that and they will push them through. And actually, honestly, your only option is to facilitate that as much as you can.
Yeah.
And build your machine towards more facilitating that. And you'll see that, okay, you might have a dip for the next 3 months, but eventually you'll do a way more healthier business. You'll have way more pipeline and you'll feel it's going to be different. But it is a journey. If I go to large corporate sales teams, it's not an easy one. And then we quickly get to another topic, which is like personal brands versus, I mean, the whole new sales techniques, which is not for this part. But eventually we'll have to go there.
Yeah.
To scale. Because the one difference between a winning salesperson and another for me is how can you scale yourself? How can you put yourself on scale? Every day, 20, 30 emails, every day, 20. How do you do it? Because at the end, the quantity, the volume will make you win. And that's a failure I see in most teams. They do 1-2 deals, they sit back and they say, I'm busy. And then they see me next to them. And then I go like, you know, I do all of what you do. I do everything you do in 5 days. I do in literally 4 hours. And they go nuts with me because I show them, listen, this is technique, but I need you to step up the game.
Yes.
And then the techniques of why now, and you build this massive front end pipeline.
Yeah, exactly. And getting to why now, like it's a big topic, but again, I think if we go slower at the start of the sales process and we do better discovery, better qualification.
Give the alternatives, because you know what's funny? Customers will pull themselves through a sales cycle.
Yes.
If you do it right. And that's with the choice technique I just explained of saying, here is something that you can fix today, you can shortcut time, or here is something maybe you can try yourself. So it's not because, and that's something that people make big mistakes around. It's not because I share my best idea that you can operationalize it. See? And people buy from you because you either have a solution, a service, or product that basically shortcuts their time.
Absolutely.
And that's a very deep insight. It took me years to really understand that. I thought they would buy me because I had the best product. No. They bought it because
it's not enough to win the product shootout.
Exactly.
Right.
And by the way, it's not the best product that wins. It's always number 2 or 3.
No. We've all got examples. Like when I've had the best product, sometimes I've lost deals and I've won
because you get arrogant and you say, I have the best product, but their perception is not that, right?
Yeah. Exactly. All right, Michael, we're coming to the end of our time here. Like any final thoughts on coping with this?
I think if you would summarize it, I think you should focus on the why now, because then you can intrinsically within themselves, prospects will pull themselves through the sales cycle. Focus on your next steps. Next steps is not the closing. Next steps is the next step that need to happen. 3, always give choice in everything you do. And the choice is always twofold. One is for solving it right away. There is a big need today. The other choice is try it yourself. I am the expert. I will help you guide you. Here is something for free. And then basically you can pull them through the sales cycle. And then just learning to accept that no is part of the deal. And then the last one is you got to keep swimming. Whatever happens, everybody has bad days, bad weeks. Keep swimming the lake of rejection. You'll get there.
Yeah, I love it. Some really great stuff there, Michael. And I love the idea of always having choice all through that sales cycle and that sort of fallback objective. If the customer's not ready to go ahead aggressively, give them something else that keeps them warm, keeps them in touch. And connect to you. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, Michael, really appreciate that. I think a lot of value for our listeners and our watchers. And thank everyone for watching and listening. So that's it for today. So look forward to engaging with you more. Bye for now.